Thank you for watching the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen.
Dancing behind the scenes.
We're either dancing, laughing, or making faces behind the scenes.
We're in our green room of sorts, and here we are like, oops, we pressed the wrong
I was like, my mouse wasn't over the right one. I was like, that's not it. Because it's right under. Anyways, behind the scenes, there's certain things I gotta press, and my mouse wasn't over the right one. I missed it by like a micro millimeter.
All I've got to say is I am so blessed and so glad to have Jen, because it's like I don't want to press any of these buttons.
Yeah, that's why we're laughing, because it's like, man, anything. I'm at the point now, honestly, girl, I'm just like, whatever.
It happens. It happens, right?
Yeah, because I'm like, some of you all don't even want to go live. You don't even want to show your face on Zoom. So I am proud of what we do.
Oh my gosh, yes. It is a lot of work. Like, this is like, it doesn't feel like work because we like it so much. So we're here because we want to provide value. We want to have fun. We want the engagement. We want you to be part of this process. So, welcome. Welcome to the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. If you haven't been with us before and this is your first time, stay here. Participate. We want to hear from you. Be part of the show. We always say the best shows are when you participate. When you're part of the show, we want to hear from you. We answer a question every single week. Something that somebody has submitted to us, we answer. If you have a question, submit your questions to us and we'll answer them on the show. We are happy to do that. So welcome. Thank you for being here. And if you don't catch the whole show, you can catch us on our Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen YouTube page. You can subscribe there. Go there today. Woo! There it is.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Super
like
fun.
Our favorite people are on that one. And so if you want to become part of our favorite people, go over there or come over here. We would love to build this community up. So
yes,
here, please.
We love Facebook, but I'm telling you what, Instagram is so much fun when you do the show with us. It's so engaging. There's so many people there. They have a great time. And it's about positive vibes. It's about feeling good. It's about learning something new, learning from each other, and embracing those changes together. So,
yeah, 10% of it is us just laughing.
Oh, yeah, I know. We do a
and,
lot.
they say, like, laughter is contagious. So, yeah, definitely be part of the community. Engage. It's so much fun. But we're so thankful for you being here or catching the replay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So this week's question, let's get right into this, Jen. It says, I read a lot about living in your authenticity. What does that actually mean? Can you explain, please? So I guess I'm going to just jump right into this.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So for me, when I think about living in authenticity, I really believe that it's living with an understanding of your own values, your personal values, not the ones that you've assumed, not the ones that you've adopted because that's what you learned or were conditioned to do, but ones that you actually live by, ones that you actually live in congruence or often in alignment with. Because honestly, if you are not living in alignment with the values that you truly believe, you're out of alignment. You're feeling kind of like, ooh, this doesn't feel quite right. I'm just doing this because somebody else lives this way and these are their values, but are they yours? And I'm not saying those adopted values aren't those that you want to embrace, but be really clear about what it is that you feel like those values are and what you're actually living by. Because when you're not, it just doesn't feel right. And also, living in authenticity is living in mindfulness. It's being aware. It's being aware of those values, of your choices, of your experiences, and what that feels like and looks like, and what that means to you. So when you do that, it just makes such an impact, a difference in your life when you can actually say, you know what? I freaking love my life. Like, I'm not saying that days aren't going to be hard, because they freaking are, even when you're living in alignment with your values. But when you are living in alignment with your values, it feels so much better. It feels so much better. It's almost like if you're not, you feel a little oppressed. When you live in your values, you feel a lot more freedom. You feel a lot more levity. You feel a lot more joy. And that joy, as Jen talked about in our last live, there's a difference between being happy, and being happy is derived from the outside, the exterior. The joy is from our inside, where, how we derive happiness from inside out, not outside in.
So freaking huge.
Right?
I love that you said that. I'm going to just say this real quick, and then I want you to continue.
No, please go.
I think so many times I see this often where people are like, well, just be happy, just be happy, just be happy. It's like, no, we need to change that. Be joyful, be joyful, be joyful. Yes. Because you said something so important. Too many of us are trying to look for external factors to bring in that happiness. Some of us are even looking at, oh, we need to make a baby. Oh, I need to find a person. Oh, I need to be in a relationship. If you are saying these things, be very careful, because you are in effect saying that you need to derive that joy from that happiness from external factors. And what Summer's trying to say is that has to come from within. Because if you don't have any of those things happening for you, you got to learn how to generate that from within, and not because it's happening to you, but because it's happening because you are a cause and not an effect.
Yeah. You know what? I love this. And it really reminds me, and this is going to go off, into a different road kind of, but it's, when you're raised and your parents say, you have to do chores, and you're not I've never aligned with, as a clinician, I've never aligned with the reward system. And it's more along the lines of, you will find purpose in what you do, what you accomplish, what you complete. Right. And that comes from within. So when you're given like a chore, or you're given something to do, it's not about like, it's about the next gift or the next bit of money or because it's going to get bigger and bigger, and the expectations are larger and larger. It's from within. So the joy, the fulfillment is built from within. So I think that if it's something that you haven't tapped into yet about your purpose, your why, this is also part of that authenticity, living in your purpose, living the life in alignment with your values. And that makes such a difference, because once we start looking outside of us for fulfillment, for that joy, it's short-lived. It's very short-lived.
Yeah.
So, I also believe that our feelings are, really have a lot to do with like what we value. So tap into those feelings. Understand what you're feeling when you're doing something, or when you're having an experience. And if it doesn't feel good to you, maybe it's because it's not in alignment with your values. Maybe it's not in alignment with where you want to be. If it doesn't make you feel good, or if you're not where you want to be in life. As I said, every day isn't going to be like, woo, it's a party. Although I have to tell you, most days it's a party for me.
I love this. I really love this. And I think it's important to pay attention to, because there are some people that I personally know where they cannot honestly say that they feel that way. They're excited to wake up, or they feel this joy, that's this constant high, right? This natural, constant, exciting high.
Yeah.
And not to say like everything is like like every single day, and it can be, but that's not to say that there's no problems. But if you are not experiencing that at a core level, if you're constantly feeling like I hate life, you know, all these different things, and you're feeling like, pay attention to that. There's something that you need to work through. And so this is why I love what Summer's saying. It's like, definitely there, it could be as basic as you haven't identified those values. It could be as basic as you haven't paid attention to what that is. And that's why there is a misalignment. That's why there's no congruency, because there is nothing anchoring you to what's important. And that's why we love talking about core values, because if you don't have anything anchoring you, what happens to a boat if it wasn't anchored? It's just going to freaking flounder off into the sea. And that's what's happening a lot for some of you, where you're just feeling like you're just wandering and floundering because there's nothing anchoring you. There's nothing stabilizing you to make the decisions that you're making. And this is why we have Foundation. This is why we have our mastermind coming up, where we are going to look at those things. We're going to look at those core values, because some of us have not ever looked at that. Some of you are feeling lost. Some of you are feeling like you just need strategy, but you haven't gone back to basics. So anyways, I'm getting off track, but I love what you said, Summer. So go ahead and continue.
Oh my gosh. I love what you just said about, are your values anchoring you? Woo! That is like the sentence for the day. Okay. I love it. I love it.
We have this ocean theme, this nautical thing going on today.
Nautical.
Actually, I have a nautical pattern. That navy blue pattern. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
I'm in the nautical tropical.
Yes,
area.
you are. Summer is doing Bahamas. I'm doing Northeast.
Pacific Coast.
Yeah, I'm actually doing like Hamptons. Summer's doing Bahamas. I'd rather do Bahamas.
Oh my gosh.
Water's warmer.
So funny. So, you know, I go back to, are you living in alignment? Are you happy with where you're at right now? Are you feeling like what you're doing is making you happy? Are you getting in the way of your progress? So here's the thing. We may think that this is easy to think about values, not your value, because you've got a ton of value, right? You just may not have like realized, or maybe you have your super skills and what those are, but your values. You know, we go into companies and we ask them all the time about their mission statement, their values, what that looks like. But have you ever asked yourself, what's your own value statement? What's your own mission statement? Have you asked yourself, if somebody were to ask you, what are your those five big values that you live by, those core values, that foundation, that anchor? If they asked you, what are those five values? Would you be able to list those? Would you be able to say, boom, 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 even three? Is it that easy for you? And a lot of times people haven't even thought about it. We haven't even thought about it. It's like, okay, yeah, we might value religion. We might value spirituality. We might value love. We might value laughter. We might value, but what is it for you? Because for you, that can look very different than it looks for your parents or your caregiver or your educator or your clergy member. That looks very different. And when you just adopt somebody else's values, that doesn't feel really very good a lot of times. So I would say take the opportunity to just take time, look at, really figure out what your values are, list those out. So maybe your value mission statement.
Yeah, you touched on something that made me go like, you said something about like clergy and church and upbringing. I think this is what I've experienced personally in seeing other people go through something similar to what you're describing. And going back to the subject that we're talking about, the question was about what's authenticity? How do I live in authenticity? Far too often, and I am not, This is coming from somebody who's extremely rebellious. I am not saying be rebellious. I am not saying go against the grain, although I encourage it. But what I am saying is pay attention to, if those are your values, then go for it. And if it's still in alignment with what you grew up with, go for it. But this is what I see far too often. You're living in fear. You sacrifice what you really want to do. You sacrifice your dreams. You sacrifice your goals. You sacrifice who you feel like you really, truly are. And then we live in fear. And then that's the complete opposite of living in authenticity. So when we ask this question, you know, what is living in authenticity? What does that mean? What does that look like? When you live in fear, what happens is we're so concerned about the judgment. We're so concerned about what do other people think. We're so concerned about what our parents are going to say. What is family going to say? What are my peers going to say? That is not living in authenticity. And if you can feel that within your being, within your gut, within your core, you got to pay attention to that. You got to do something about that, because if you're, and so we talked about earlier a few minutes ago about being in alignment, being in congruency, and let's even define that. If it even feels, I use the word personally, like off kilter. If I feel like I'm off, like this doesn't feel good, too often we are ignoring our gut. We're ignoring how we're feeling, and we're not paying attention. And I'm not saying don't pay attention to logic. When we talked about this in last week's show, we have to pay attention to all things going on around us, our logic, our emotions, spirituality, how we are feeling. And when that doesn't feel good, I mean, it doesn't even take a lot. You know, when it doesn't feel good and you're like, as soon as my son's dad makes fun of me because he goes like, yeah, as soon as you go, he's like, oh, he's bracing himself because he knows me, and he's like, oh no. He just knows something not good is coming out of my mouth. And that's the feeling I want you to pay attention to. If you're feeling that, like, if some of the questions that Summer has already asked, or some of the questions that she's going to ask, she has some really good questions. If for a split second you go, you either haven't defined the answer, or you are not living in authenticity. And so we want to encourage you to pay attention to that. And so that's what it's all about. If you have to have that feeling of like, if you're feeling that you're not, listen, let me just cut the 30 minutes short for you. You're not living in authenticity.
Are you hearing this?
You got to feel like good. This is why we are like so high on like life, because like, you know, it feels good when you do find the right partner, when you do find the right relationship, when you feel like you're living in your purpose. And again, I want to reiterate, it does not freaking mean that everything is going right. It does not mean that everything is perfect. If in fact, I want you all, like, let me go to it right now. I want you all right now to go to our Instagram and follow us. One of the posts we did the other day was about what you see and what you don't see.
Oh, yes.
So go there, follow us. And this is what I'm talking about, being authentic. It's like you see those things, but the real is like, hey, we're going to also tell you the crap you don't see. That is living in authenticity. That is showing you what's really happening behind the scenes. But does that mean we stop? Does that mean we don't keep going? No. But it's also being real with ourselves and being real with like, hey, this is what's also going on behind the scenes. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, we're happy. Yeah, we're loving life. But hey, by the way, all this other crap is also happening. Yeah. But we just keep on moving. That is authenticity. It does not mean you are living perfect life and everything is going wonderful and nothing's going wrong. No, we live on Earth. That does not exist.
Right. But, and human. We're human. I said we're human. So
totally.
We're imperfect as humans. I mean, if we think that we're absolutely perfect, think again.
Yeah, tell me where that is and I'm moving there.
Yeah, utopia. So it's like, whoa. So yeah, as Jen said, go over to our IG page, check out that graphic. I think I even put it on our Life, Love, and Money page on Facebook as well. So you can go check that out. But here's the thing, folks. Yeah, we are transparent. We are out there with our stuff because we want you to know that we are absolutely living in our authenticity. Now, here's the thing. Can this be a struggle? Heck, yes. This can be a struggle. And I'll tell you why. Because we've been conditioned to believe, to act, and think certain ways. That's just normal. Our parents, our caregivers, the people that raised us, our educators, they're trying their best to give us, what they think we need. And out of all that great education, all that great wisdom that they share, it is then up to you to determine what you want to live by. Because as you know, when you begin to, here's a clinical term, when you begin to individuate, when you begin to separate from your parents, your caregivers, the people that have raised you, it feels uncomfortable. Why? Because now you're living on your terms. And that's natural. That's okay. Sometimes we have to disrupt ourselves because we don't want to live those mediocre lives, right? We don't want to live a life that it's like, that's okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, we have a lot to be thankful for, but we want to be happy. We want to be enriched. We want to feel good. And as Jen said, yes, we have ups and downs. We're humans. Things are going to impact us in different ways. How we respond to that versus react that's another show. But here's the thing. Is it hard? Yes, it can be hard. Can it be a challenge? Yes, but that's where the learning comes in. That's where the growth comes in, when you're willing to do that. When you're willing to take those hard steps and say, you know what? I do believe in this, and I do respect your own beliefs, but this is what I choose to believe, which is maybe different than your parents or your clergy, your aunts or your uncle or your grandparents or whatnot. So it's like, I get that. And sometimes that can be hard because those conversations can be hard. The struggle is when you start feeling uncomfortable, you need to listen to that inner voice and say, is it uncomfortable because I'm not living in congruence with my values, or is it uncomfortable because I'm growing I'm individuating and I'm learning and finding out where I need to be in regards to my own values. So,
that was so good. Like, yeah, I think I want to reiterate that last part that she just said.
Yeah.
Is it that it's not in alignment with your values, or is it because you're just kind of, and I know this is going to sound so messed up, but I have called it like, are you just a lemming? Are you just like a sheep just following because that's what you grew up with? And I know, especially if you come from a very conservative family, which I have, and there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of save face. Yeah. And this is why I'm kind of like the rebel. I hope you're not watching, Dad, because I know you stalked my account. But it's like it's like, and that's what's so sad for me when I do observe that, Summer. It's very sad when I do see people, like, for example, and this is a small example. I remember seeing this, my cousin, her friend wanted to be an artist. She's extremely talented and gifted and just thrived and loved being creative. And I remember this years ago because she said, but my mom wants to be a nurse. Okay, yeah, we're Filipino. Yeah, shocker, right? Wanted to be a nurse. Yes. Not that being a nurse is a bad thing, but what I'm saying is this is a perfect example when you follow what tradition is saying, you follow what caregivers, guardians, parents are saying because that's what they've been conditioned to think is successful. Right. Here you are realizing that you are not being able to live in your authentic self because you know your path is a different direction. Your fork in the road is going left, but you don't want to violate the respect. You don't want to violate, but this is what they want from me. But I don't want to be the bad person. But imagine this for a second. That's choosing to live in fear, going the other way. That's choosing to not live in your authentic self. That's choosing what is not working for you. And this is what I'm talking about. You are not living in alignment. You are not living in congruency. You are going to feel that internal conflict and struggle. Mm-hmm. And it's so sad because some of you will choose the other way to appease everybody else. And I want to be clear. I am not saying that I'm all for be disrespectful. But this is about you being grown and having the maturity and the growth to say, this is what I choose for me. This is all what we're talking about being authentic. It's about choosing what is right for you, what is in alignment for you, because it's your life. The saddest thing I think for anybody to do is get to the end of their life and have regret. So this is why this is such an important topic for us. This is why it's so important for you to live in alignment. And I'm not saying it's easy. It is hard. Again, especially if you, depending on how you grew up, depending on what kind of family you have, it is not easy to say like, I am not going to do what you want me to do. Yeah. And then you're going to be called and judged that, y'all, you're just so difficult. You're so rebellious. Why can't? Yeah. And I've gone through all of it. Yeah. And I am freaking happy.
Yeah. And she's telling the truth, folks. She's telling the truth. This woman lives in her authenticity. Here, I'm going to give you the reverse kind of perspective. So when I was going to school for my doctorate, many of my professors I find to be on the ultra liberal side, right? And sometimes
tell me first, where did you go to school?
I'm not going to say that yet. Well, undergrad, I went to Berkeley, and I was young, and there was a lot of individuation. I was a wild child anyway. So and my mom, she just raised me that way. She was like, hey, you need to explore. You need to figure out your life. So she gave me a lot of freedom. So, my mom was this, I had some of the best times growing up, like in high school with her, because she really did give me a lot of freedom. And she allowed me to have my missteps. And for that, I thank her, because missteps are wisdom. Missteps. And she would say, okay, well, maybe you aren't going to make that decision the same way the next time. And she was right. And then maybe she wasn't.
I love your mom. Hi, Mom, if you're listening, you're catching the replay.
I know, right? So, we had some really good times as I was growing up with her. But as I was going to my doctoral, getting my doctorate, there were some of these professors that were very, very, very liberal. And many times when you would state your opinion versus their opinion, it might reflect in your grade. And I'm like, wait a second. And then that's when I'd be like, wait, maybe you're not taking into consideration this spans of like insight, like this different than that varies from yours. And even as we are older, we can learn new things. We can explore new stuff. And I did. I had to question myself against, people who had a like your parents or like your caregivers, a presence of authority, right? And so I might have butted up against that sometimes, or I might have had a different opinion. And that's okay, because we learn that we have to, by growing, by nurturing our own values, that we learn something from them, and that we learn something that we want to live in alignment with. And we choose what that is every day. So I'm going to go back to these questions that I asked in the previous show.
Yes.
I do want to ask folks, and I listed out these questions because I really want you to take the time, if you have the opportunity, because it's so important, so important. We do things here because we want to offer value, and we love doing what we're doing, and we love answering your questions. So here are the questions. Do you feel good about where you are at in life right now, at this moment? Do you feel like you are getting in the way of a life that you are passionate about? Are you aware of your value? Now, here comes the other perspective, the other end of this. Are you aware of your values? So those are two different things, your value and your values. So remember, we don't want to assume or take on necessarily every value that everybody tries to impose upon us. You have to realize that a lot of people have their own value set, that you're going to be exposed to a lot, but what is it that you are walking in alignment with? It's not for me to answer. It's for you to decide, for you to live that life. So we ask companies, as I said, all the time about this. Why are we asking ourselves these same questions? And really, my last question is who really wants to live a life that is inauthentic, or being an imposter or a copycat? I mean, I know I don't. What about you? I mean, really, I don't want to live as a copycat or as an imposter, because honestly, it's a mask. It's like this overlay. It's something that just really doesn't feel good. It's not rewarding. It's not growth promoting. So how do you want to grow? By growing means figure out what your own values are. And I'm telling you what, Jen and I I think we do this daily. Like we check back in with ourselves and our values list, right? And if we're feeling out of alignment, we know because we've checked back in with ourselves. But that list really helps because it reminds you. It's a check-in. It's something that reminds you that, oh, you know what? I'm kind of going off kilter. And you had mentioned something about a boat earlier, and just the record.
Yeah. Definitely. So the analogy that we were talking about earlier when we're on IG, again, super fun. Come on, Facebook or YouTube or whatever, Twitter.
Yeah.
We think about a ship. I love this analogy. A ship, especially if you've been on a cruise ship.
Yes.
It is massive. It's like a floating hotel on the ocean, right? And when you think about a rudder, that rudder is such a tiny percentage compared to the rest of the ship. But that rudder controls so much. You just turn it like 1 degree. You can end up on a completely different island. And same analogy when it comes to an airplane. You know, like when the pilot decides to go 1 degree, maybe he didn't decide. If he goes 1 degree off, or she, let's not get to that subject.
Right.
But the person decides to go 1 degree off.
That's a whole different show.
Yeah, when somebody decides to go one, or it ends up being 1 degree off, it can be the difference between ending up in like JFK in New York or Orlando, Florida. Because over time, over those hours, it's like, wait a minute, we're off kilter, we're off track, we're not following where the coordinates are supposed to land, and it's the same thing with our lives. As Summer's talking about here. You can feel it. You're like, it just feels off. Or, even when I'm in an airplane, sometimes like, why does it feel like I've been in here so long? And there's that gut feeling where and you recognize, hey, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. And the challenge is we ignore it. You have to stop ignoring it. You have to stop and pause and try to assess, like, wait a minute, why am I feeling this way? Are you making decisions based on what somebody else wants for you, based on what somebody else that brought you up, could be your parents, could be the church, it could be guardians, it could be people you work with. You got to stop and ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? And far too often, I see too many people doing this. Well, I don't want to make that person mad. Well, I feel bad. And I'm just like, wow. So you rather worry about what other people think, and then instead of you living in your true, authentic self. Because let me tell you something, when you can step into that, you are so much more useful and powerful to this world. You can show up so much bigger and brighter than you operating on a 75, 50% because you're trying to appease somebody else because you're so stuck on their values that you've completely ignored your own. And you have to make a decision. Is that how you want to live? Hell, if the answer ends up being yes, have at it. You got my blessing. But if it's not, you got to do something about that.
Now, I want you to mention, because I think this is a great segue into our mastermind groups. What you just said, if you're ready, and we're putting this out there because we want to put things of value out there. We have created things that are going to help you get really clear about your why, your purpose, your values. You want to tell them where they can find that information about our mastermind groups that we're going to launch here pretty soon. We've got them all set up. The first one we're going to launch is the foundation. If you want to be part of this, fine, great, check it out. If you have questions, give us a DM. Ask us your questions. We want to hear from you. If it's not the right time, that's okay. Join our group on Facebook. Join our Life, Love, and Money Collective on Facebook, because what I'm telling you here is there are things in there that are free for you to talk about values, money and values, that are journals, prompts for journal writing. There are so many things in there that we want you to have access to that are free. But if you're ready to take it a step further and you're ready to make some real changes in your life where you want to get really clear about your values, living an authentic life, living your purpose and your why, getting, courageous about your life and how you want to live it, check it out at thelifeloveandmoney.com/groups. Right there, folks, right there. Those are where you can find out about our groups, our mastermind groups. Check it out. If you have questions, please, we're asking you to contact us. We want to be able to answer your questions. You have anything to say about this, Jen?
Yeah, I just want to add, if you're on the fence, if you're like, I don't know if this is for me, that is the perfect reason why you should DM us, and we will have a conversation and work through it and hey, if it's for you, based on our conversation, we'll say, yeah, this would be a great next steps. And if it's not, we'll be like, you know what? I don't think you're ready. It's okay. You can go and just join the Facebook community group in the collective, and there are some resources there. Start there, and that's okay. Everybody is walking their own journey. This is not about where you are. You all heard that analogy. Don't compare your chapter 20 to somebody else's chapter 1 and blah, blah, blah. That's what this is about, because you do not have the same values as somebody else. This is your own walk. This is your own journey. But this is about us being able to meet you where you're at and to support you where you need it and how you need it. Again, please just ask, DM us. But that's the link down there. Just go there and see if this is for you. And again, if you're not sure, send us a message and we'll make sure to have a conversation. And that's it. But it's about stepping into that, like, what's next? Don't you want something better for yourself? I mean, it's like, I look at, sometimes I hear people and it makes me sad. It really is sad and disheartening. Especially with some friends of mine where I'm listening and I'm like, you're not there yet. And I'm not there yet. But I will say, I feel like I'm a good chunk percentage away.
Yeah.
But it's when those initial steps, this is why our first mastermind is called it's called Foundation. You've got to start somewhere. And too often I see a lot of the floundering. I see that you're still lost. You're still trying to figure it out. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you're starting over. It doesn't matter if you have no freaking idea what's happening. That's exactly why you want to be in this. And so that's what I want to add. That definitely, I think there's a space for everybody that's in that kind of I'm here right now. I don't know. I want to do better. It's Foundation could be a great start for what you're needing.
Yeah. And here I just want to add one last thing before we go into our nugget of the day.
Yeah.
We do not stop self-actualizing. You might think you do, but we don't until we're gone. Self-actualization means growth. And people are like, I'm completely self-actualized. No, you're not. We grow and learn until we are gone. Hopefully. Give yourself the opportunity to continue to grow and learn, because life can be monotonous and not what you envision and not what you feel or not what you want. So take the steps, have the courage. And part of being part of a collective group, like a mastermind group, is there's accountability, there's clarity, there's guidance. So there's a lot there that you can actually gain from being part of a group like that. So check it out. If you have questions for us, let us know. All right, Jen, let's get into our nugget of the day.
Yep.
All right. You want to go?
Sure. So I think this is so basic and so simple, and I know some of you don't do it. So my nugget of the day is, because we talked about this in Instagram, but I think too often, in alignment with this topic of authenticity, I think the thing that came up for me a lot was how we are so busy pleasing other people. That's the crux of authenticity. That's the crux of not being authentic. You're so concerned about what other people think. You're so concerned about making everybody else happy that you're completely ignoring your own joy, your own happiness, your own value. And so my nugget of the day is, can you please just write 3 things down that bring you joy? And then this weekend, do one of them. Just do something for you. It's that simple, because I think far too often we're so concerned about everybody else. You are ignoring yourself. And I know that kind of can go into the idea of self-care, but even at this level, just find one thing that can bring you joy to help you remember your value, help you remember your self-worth, help you to remember that you are so important, that it's important to take care of what brings you joy instead of you worrying about bringing everybody else joy.
Oh my gosh. I love what you just said. Remember your self-worth. Write those 3 things down. Okay, my nugget is, don't live a life of mediocre or mediocrity. Live a life you absolutely love. Live a life you love. I know that's easier said than done, but hey, here's here's a special gift. If you go back to our conversation in this post, what we've talked about today in this live, you can catch us at the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen YouTube page. Catch the show because there's all kinds of nuggets and all kinds of guidance in which you can actually learn from, live by, and figure some things out where you can live a life not of mediocrity, but that which you love. So that's it. That's
right down there. That's to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe.
So check it out. Past episodes, we talk about some amazing stuff, and I'm just really proud of us. Lots of value, lots of wisdom, lots of experience. A lot of our stuff comes from things we've gone through ourselves. This is not some stuff we read from a book, but ironically, we've also lived through it. So talk about like academia meets life, real life.
You know what? That's what's so beautiful here, because I see a lot of different people like teaching off of wisdom alone. And I love the balance here between, our expertise and bringing that together with the wisdom. So, and Jen, there is a reason I wanted to pair with Jen, because her level of expertise and wisdom and her life experiences. Yes, her life experiences.
Lots of that.
So much to this show. And I am just so fortunate to have her with me on this journey. So thank you, Jen. And thank you to all of you listening today and being part of the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Summer. And before we sign off, I also want to just, lift her up and just praise her, because she's amazing. We are so freaking happy and we love doing this. And so we want to bring you along this journey where you can feel high on life, feel like you're thriving. And so definitely, again, last plug, check out the foundation group. Go to the YouTube, go to our channels. And if heck, you don't even know where to go, just send us a message. We'll tell you. That's
right.
You just said so many things. Just send us a message. We'll tell you where to go.
That's right. And follow us and make sure that you join us every Thursday for a live show where we will happily answer your questions. We want to make sure that we are addressing things that you're interested in. So DM us your questions as well. Thank you, everybody, and have an amazing rest of your week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. Dr. Summer Watson is the owner of the production and coaching company Core Women, LLC, is a doctor of psychology, has a depth of experience working in both for-profit and nonprofit in human services and mental health, is a professional coach, seminar host, documentary film producer, and an author. Jen Fontania is a former financial advisor and now a certified money coach, speaker, and has published 6 books. She has worked with organizations such as the Walt Disney Company, Warner Brothers, Target, Goodwill, and the U.S. Air Force. She loves working with women and helps them master their money and mindset to empower them to build the ultimate life without worrying about money. Join Summer and Jen every week as they go live on the Life, Love, and Money Show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.